what we really wanted to talk about today was talk about Minecraft and where SIGVE should be going with Minecraft. So our very special guest today is Knowclue Kid. and Knowclue is Marianne Malmstrom, who does Morrowcraft with her students, and that's Minecraft for Morrow School. And what we'd really like to have her talk about is really where she's been doing it for a couple years now, and where she thinks we should take educators when it comes to it, because she's got the kid stuff down. Now it's going to be about getting the educators down. So I will go off mic and let her start talking.
Wow, that's a that's a dangerous opening. So that's a great question about where the educators can go next. I've been thinking about that a lot since several of the conversations we've had at ISTE. And one of the challenges that I face is how to communicate to other people the incredible things that I'm witnessing with my kids in this space. And I think it's true for the other teachers that are working in this space at our school, and true of that for other teachers who are working in other schools or in any spaces with kids. And one of the conversations Abacus and Kay and I were having at ISTE was, how do we create that on a larger scale so that we can actually have kids and teachers playing in the same space? Because I think the tension right now is the people want to get Minecraft in school, but they feel a lot of tension to get it in school to teach. And so that's kind of cool, and it's going to be fun to do some things that way, but they're not really, teachers are not going to really understand the power of this platform until they see it in its native use with kids. And so I think what Kay, what you're doing with setting up spaces with your university and the games MOOC, and I know you've got a space there right now for SIGVE, is really important. First step, you've got the teachers in, but I know that you've already had kids in there building, and you're looking at how to create a dynamic space for educators in there, and trying to think about how we're going to do that and get kids in. I think that that's going to be the tricky part, because it makes adults really nervous about who's going to get in and who's going to be whitelisted. But I think there's already some models out there, and so I hope that I'm really excited about the thoughts of SIGVE establishing a permanent space, and I think it will be really good. But I think if we create it just for the adults, I mean, that's a good first step. But unless we have a space where we can actually do things with kids and adults, I don't know that we can really take it as far as we need to take it. So kind of an opening, and this is really a discussion. So I open it to your questions. And
I just like to make a quick comment, and the thing of it is, we lucked out. We did grab some server space, and what we did was we grabbed some people from our community college and asked them to work on a bit of a space, and then we're in an educators guild. And one of the educators, who is an administrator, by the way, Day, she's the federal programs director, her kids play in Minecraft. And for one of the areas, we asked her daughters to go and build this up, and they are having such a great time in there. I mean, everybody is. So our space got divided up into, we have a couple 30-year-olds who have built some stuff. And then we have one early 20-year-old who's one of our students who's building stuff up, and then we have a 10 and 12-year-old, and each and every one of those are just loving, and it's creative mode, so it's straight building. It's not being chased by monsters or anything, but they are just really enjoying it. And I have to say that I was, and I told Knowclue this already, I was talking to an instructor about a week or so ago, and she was saying, well, in Minecraft, could I set this up, and could I set that up, and could I set up this next thing? And and I said, what? Yes, yes, you could set all those things up. But it wasn't, and she was thinking, well, for her English class she could set up lots of things and students could go in and they'd go from one place to the next, kind of like questing. But the deal of it is, with Minecraft, I really don't think it's about having it set up and having the quests already there for the students or for anybody who's playing it. I think it's the power of building that most of us in virtual worlds really, really know about.
Amen, sister. So yeah, I think I've been on this bandwagon since, I don't know, I've been in Second Life about really being adamant about teachers getting their hands off the tools and letting the kids build it. And I think it's always our first notion to go in because we are genetically wired to teach instead of create learning environments. And I think there's really a distinct difference between those two things. And that's where the mind shift has to be. And, you know, you hear it like the sage on stage, but it's really fundamental. For me, the tipping point was giving myself permission to play with the kids first. That is so unintuitive for teachers. We feel like somehow we're not doing our job, we're being slackers, we're not being professional. There's something just inherently wrong with sitting down and playing with the kids. But if we don't do that, we will never really understand the dynamics of this platform. And when we do it for the kids, we actually rob them of the learning that naturally is embedded in the play and that you see when they're in what I like to, I guess, call the native space, when they're just playing. When you just sit down and play with them, and I'm not talking about just sitting down and observing, but really just go in and play. You're going to see this with your teacher eyes. It's so sophisticated. So that has really got to be the first shift, and I know that I harp on that all the time, but I just think that that's the linchpin to understanding all of this. And there's nothing wrong with questing. I mean, but get a good quest-based game like WoW or Guild Wars 2 or something even more appropriate for the younger kids, and do that. And you don't have to recreate those games. They're already out there. But Minecraft is a beautiful thing because it allows the kids to play and role play and build and imagine and create and collaborate, and all of those essential 21st century skills that they're not getting anywhere else because we're so busy, teaching to the test.
I'm gonna go ahead and just repeat them. So what in Second Life, the question was asked that Day asked was actually threefold. He asked three separate questions. The first one was the students almost being addicted to Minecraft, in the fact that it was very, very hard to get their focus from Minecraft back to whatever the content was. The second question was as far as copyright in the servers, and setting up tech, basically setting up servers that IT can live with. And Knowclue, I'll have you address those to as far as you want to go, and then I'd probably ask Abacus to talk a bit on the tech and the servers, and then I'll probably chime in on the tech and the servers also.
Great, and those are excellent questions. I just I wanted to stop and clarify one thing, Day. Are you talking about stopping the kids to teach something else, or to do something within the game? Can you just clarify that for me? Wow, those are excellent points, and I'd really like to take those apart one at a time, but I want to get back to your original question, so hopefully we'll have some time to roll back and deal with those questions as well. So yeah, I get a lot of parents that come to me worried about their kids are addicted to Minecraft. When I present it's almost always teachers, overwhelmingly, like 80 to 90%, with kids who play Minecraft at home. And so this is a big issue for parents and teachers everywhere, and some are more open to it, some are frustrated. I sometimes ask, would you be that frustrated if your child wanted to play violin? And it just kind of stops them in their track. They can get addicted. That's why we're the adults, and that's why we work a lot with our parents. My job is to provide a safe place for their kids to play. Their job is to pull the plug and send them to bed. Or, I've had one parent who puts their kids on timers. It's a partnership, and we're still adults, and we know what's best for kids, and we help them set limits where they can't. As far as in school, I don't know. I have more street cred and also ability to manage my classes with Minecraft than any other thing I've ever taught in 30 plus years of teaching. And I can get kids who don't particularly do well in other aspects of school follow very, like 6-step commands because they're so eager to get in the game. And when I quietly count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, escape, disconnect, they do it. They do it because they know they'll face a 2-minute penalty. That's all it is, a 2-minute penalty to go back in the game. And which they time, I don't time. And for some reason, it just works. Very clear expectations. And we also have a rule at our school: you are not permitted to play Minecraft outside of the lab, because it was a problem. So we build in those restrictions. It's not a free-for-all. As far as the second question was copyright issues, ethical questions, and I can tell you what we do to manage it in school. So the first part is really interesting, and probably the biggest reason we have Minecraft and other virtual worlds and some MOGs in our school is we believe that having these platforms is protective, and we feel really very strongly about this. There was a report that went out to Congress talking about the need to have digital media in school and teach citizenship, and you can't do that. You can't teach swimming without a pool. You can't teach cooking without a kitchen. We can't teach citizenship. I see it as citizenship. People still say digital citizenship. You cannot teach it without being in these spaces. So living in these spaces in school is a natural place to have all these kinds of conversations. And I faced that in camp. I had kids leaving our approved servers and going to other servers, and I just had to lay down the law this summer that if I found anybody going to servers, I was just going to close down Minecraft for the afternoon, and that everybody needed to help police that. And our approach to citizenship is community standards. We run a 24/7 server that is hosted outside of school. We are not on 24/7. We have really worked with the kids to set up community standards. They alert us when there's problems, and problems arise, but we welcome those problems because that's where the learning is, and that's where they get feedback, and they have a safe place to have problems and solve problems. And sometimes adults get confused with natural play. They never like kids to argue. Well, that's a really, really normal part of life, and it's very empowering for kids to be able to work through some of their problems. And when they can't, we're there, and we have chat records, and we have, sometimes the kids are on Skype, so we don't. But we have found, by and large, the community has run itself really rather well on our 24/7 server. In 2 years, we've only had to shut down the server twice for incidents that needed the community's attention to solve. So, and then besides the 24/7 server, we actually, I do work at an independent school, so we do have some latitude, but we host several different maps or worlds on our local server, and those are great because I can just turn them on for a class and then turn them off, and we can duplicate them if we have several classes. And that has worked really well. We also encourage kids to make LAN servers because I think that that's an important skill too in managing that, so they can start a world in class and share it with their friends. And sometimes if they're older and they're working on a project, it's a great way to work on a project and not have other people disrupt it. So we're pretty flexible to exploring a lot of different ways to use the platform. We have a tendency, I mean, this thing took off almost overnight for us. We opened it up just for our middle school, and within weeks, you know, the third graders, the fourth graders were demanding a piece of the action. So we have really, a lot of our program has been designed because the students have driven the learning. So, and we use it from everything from the 24/7 server for free play to very structured lessons in some of the grades. And we use other virtual worlds at other grades. Every grade has an experience in a virtual space. Okay. So I did not realize that the premium was up to $50. That dates me. Wow. What we did at our school is we picked up enough licenses for one entire grade, and we purchased that through Minecraft EDU. We did not purchase anything else from them, but that's a great way to get licenses, and it's very affordable. And just so you know, you don't have to purchase the whole bundle. You can just get the licenses. And we're a little bit ambivalent about sharing those licenses because we tell the kids they can't share. And yet, we're a school, it would be ridiculous for us to buy an account for every child. The way that we use it in school is we make individual worlds so that we manage the account so the kids aren't cross-contaminating or using the kids aren't sharing the same account in the same world. Does that make sense to you? Or is that still confusing? It is confusing. It's so flexible. There's so many ways that you can use this platform. And I know teachers that use the free version. I don't, but you know, we're pretty heavily embedded in our curriculum. So I don't think that was helpful. Ooh, $18 per
yeah,
license.
I just put it up there. And
Thank
if
you.
if you are doing it, you know, if you're buying a personal one, not through Minecraft EDU, it's now $26. And and as Abacus said, we got what I said was as far as the EDU version, we are not using Minecraft EDU for the server, the collaborative server that we set up. And that's kind of part of the talk, I think, is do you go ahead and set up a server that is open, or do you want something that has the kind of controls that Minecraft EDU has?
Well, when you say open, that's a little deceptive because there's nothing open about our servers. We just manage them ourselves. So they're totally whitelisted. They're totally protected. And so here's kind of the interesting thing. And I think that where I see Minecraft EDU fitting into the picture is for a teacher that that has absolutely no game experience or no comfort working with these platforms. It's probably going to be an easier entry level, but it's really a teacher crutch. The kids, they totally set up their own servers. That's a little daunting if, as you say, Day, that you're worried. You know, IT people tend to like to keep control on everything. I get that because they're, you know, have to run a whole system network, and kids can work their way around that really fast. But I do know some teachers who've taken their time and let the kids develop the servers. You've got to have a certain amount of comfort with that and trust in your kids and comfort level with letting them take you through a journey where you don't know all the answers yourself. Day, you bring up such a great point, and it's another really strong argument why I think as schools we're almost compelled to provide these spaces at this point. For us, the minute we got into Minecraft, we opened the server. Granted, I had already had experience with OpenSim and Second Life and had a certain amount of comfort running servers after school. But I knew that it was irresponsible for us to introduce a game at school that the kids already loved, and then for them not to have a safe place to play after school for our entire community. And the truth is, we run a 24/7 server, and kids do start their own servers, and they server hop, and I'm not going to control that. It's not my job to control it. But it's great that there's an adult in their life where they can talk about some of those things. And I would say that to your school that it's better to work with the kids as a team, because let me back up just a little bit. The world has changed. For all of history, adults have understood the world that the kids are growing up in. Kids don't think we do, but we pretty much had the same experience. We are faced with adults with a world we don't understand. And so for us to, delude ourselves that we can manage this and tackle it as adults and teachers always have is, I think, really naive. But there's an opportunity to actually partner with kids. And what our experience has been at Elizabeth Morrow is that partnership has been really valuable to both our kids and us. The payoff for us is that we learn about this world and how smart the kids are, and we learn so much about the world they live in, and also they help us a lot just in knowing like the mods that are out there and all the tricks of the trade. For the kids, they don't have to be out there alone, because right now I can tell you, I can guarantee you, they are out there online at a very young age. And who are the adults there? And they still need adults. They still like to show you what they build. They still like to talk to you about their problems and have a touch base. And so, and for your IT people to get involved with that and make that a learning opportunity with your kids, and to say, yeah, we're going to do this, but we're going to go through the system. And I think the place to look for that is Peggy Sheehy has done that with her kids, and I know that she's been through that process with them, and they're going to be in full tilt this year, and she will be blogging about it, is an example of how a school is going through that process, letting the kids set up the server, but doing it, with the blessing of the principal and the IT. And Peggy's totally hands off. She does not play Minecraft. She, but she trusts her kids enough to be able to work through that. And she's got the IT guy involved. She's got the principal. So all the safety, the stops are in place, and they're all working together, but letting the kids take the lead and get some really, really valuable experience along the way. Correct? I mean, I think you can certainly Google Peggy Sheehy and Minecraft, and if that doesn't work, contact me. I'll put you in touch with her. But she's pretty highly Googleable. I'm not even gonna touch that one. I know there's got to be a word for that.
There you go. You can say googlyable. How's that?
Googlyable. Oh my gosh, I love that.
But yeah, I mean, I think really, Dave, what you're looking at is, I think you're on the right track there as far as, what I notice is that you definitely want to be very familiar with the game yourself, especially before you approach administrators. Most administrators, their first question is going to be, okay, what is it? A lot of your tech administrators may not know what Minecraft is, but they do know what server space is. They do know what purchasing of service space is. I mean, that's another way to look at it as well. Is that you talk about it as purchasing server space. They understand licensing. As far as how you use that, that's going to be your determination. But really, what administrators are looking at is, when they hear someone coming to them with a new idea, the first thing they look at is, okay, so who else? Is it just you, or are there other people interested in this? So usually it's going in and having that discussion. The next thing is have you talked to your administrator before in a one-on-one situation as opposed to talking to them in front of a group of people, because most administrators, if you introduce something new to them in front of a group of people, their initial response is well, no, or their initial response is, well, why don't we talk about this more later? We need to move along and stick with our agenda. So a part of that is talking about that. I think that keeping it in the context of purchasing server space. Personally, I think it's great that you have kids as young as Knowclue's kids who are already doing computer networking and playing around with LANs and playing around with that type of networking and connection, and getting a feel for that sort of that technology backbone portion that's out there. So I mean, that sounds really good as well to your administrator, because the other thing it all comes down to, I mean, whether you're in K-12 or higher ed, we're all coming down to, what are our common competencies that we have to meet, and everyone talks about learning objectives and things like that. Well, guess what? Them working with the infrastructure side of Minecraft is a STEM technology, so it's getting them used to STEM, and so those are things that we're always looking at doing. Because computer science does fall under the science as well as a technology component to it. So, and even engineering as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can pitch it to your administrators, especially for the different the variables that you have here. Because with Minecraft, students do have to get used to this. They have to get used to lag. They have to get used to logging into a server and seeing that. And even and the more they're exposed to it, I think the better off they're going to be. And the more those fields will probably be more attractive to them as well, because they'll understand that. But really, the care, someone said here, the care and feeding of your administrator. It is something that you want to go ahead and you want to talk with your administrator, what some of your ideas are. You might want to jot down a brief proposal of what you're looking at, just sort of getting lists and links and URLs of others who are doing something similar. Because that's the other thing you see with administrators. Some administrators, they don't necessarily want to be the first. They don't want to necessarily be the first person to try this. So they'd much rather see, there are case studies, or there are other administrators you can talk to and they can see. Because right now, just the way our society is, as an administrator, one of your biggest concerns is always liability, and that's something you're going to have to address. And whether that is locking down, as Knowclue does, where she has certain maps where she unlocks and locks, or she allows people into certain worlds only during school hours. Those are things that you have to look at. Yes, Liddell, the mapping to objectives, learning objectives, is going to be a big thing. And what does that do? Because that's the type of stuff you're looking for. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people, and like I said, SIGVE is looking into that. Those are things that. Those are some things that we have to look at, and we really have to decide how do we want to use it. I mean, I think that Minecraft is a really good way to introduce people into virtual environments. It is not that intimidating. 8 bits is a lot less intimidating than something as high-end graphically and demanding as Second Life. Moving around in Minecraft takes a little bit getting used to, but it is something that they can carry over into others. So really what I see from my standpoint is a game like Minecraft is a really good gateway into other virtual environments. And that's really what SIGVE is all about. It really does help you explore those other environments that are out there. So I think it's something that we should definitely look at. But the question is what size of server are we looking at? How many people do you think would be interested? So it might be something where we have to sort of start small and sort of grow as we get more and more people involved.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And Day, you're saying that it's a gateway to Unity. I think it's a gateway I think it is not an end-all and be-all. What makes it so beautiful for schools is its flexibility. But I definitely was in other worlds before. We're always looking for other platforms that fit the criteria. I know that Lee Dale is playing with us on Clash of Clans. A bunch of teachers have started to look at iOS games, and we play informally with kids, and it is absolutely fascinating. They're just already living there, so but it's, yeah, who would have thunk 8 bits would have been the virtual world? Because I know we really were struggling for a long time to find how to get virtual worlds into school.
And I mean, I know some of the points are have been brought up here, and that's something that based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like we need a fact sheet for administrators. And I know Abacus talked about some of it, but quite honestly, the thing of it is, Day, that yours and every other IT department has to come to grips with the fact that the students are more advanced than their IT policy. Okay?
Oh, amen.
They have to come to grips with that. And I mean, I got to go to a conference called EduCause, and that's more for higher ed CIOs. There was constant talk about we have to give it up. We've lost the war. You know? And then there was a discussion about tech hygiene instead. About teaching good practices. Rather, what do you mean? but I mean, the thing of it is, our IT departments, our educational technology administrators, our educational technology plans have to accept the fact that our students are more advanced than what they're putting out, and they have to come to grips with it in different ways. And I think a fact sheet, students are more advanced than the educational technology plans of most school districts and colleges. and what they're doing is more advanced than the agendas being given out by administrators in most computer science departments too. They just are. And that's what we have to address. And I think if we could come up with by our next ISTE conference, a fact sheet, or maybe even, I like a fact sheet for administrators about Minecraft, and then maybe a white paper for administrators on Minecraft too. And that might be something that's very valuable. And Day, I think you're absolutely right. Well, first of all, unfortunately, your research and does this help test scores? We don't live in that world, Day. We do not live in the world. us out here at this edge of virtual environment, we don't live in a world where we can pull out 5 years worth of data to show them. No, that's what I mean.
So can I just pop in here, because I thank you for saying that, Kay. But I get that's a world you live in, but we cannot be responsible to our children and be held prisoner to that world. And I think what you need to go back to your administrators and your parents, especially your parents and your IT people. You have to help them understand that this is protective. This is the central piece for our school. Give you just a little bit of history. I was doing all the right things. I was teaching my digital citizenship, and I had kids in middle school coming in that were good kids in school that were doing awful things online. Got kicked out of the MIT Scratch group for their egregious behavior, and we were just scratching our heads like, what is the disassociation here? And we really decided that the kids did not see, when they were going online, that the other people were really people. And granted, this was 3 or 4 years ago, but we just felt that was where it was breaking down. And we also realized that a lot of the norms are already set by the time they get in middle school. They are already online without adults. So we started targeting our younger kids, 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade. And that's when I looked for an MOG or something, a virtual world that I could bring into school, found Lego Universe. And it was remarkable. That was my hunch, that if we got kids into these spaces together in school where they could see each other, that would make a difference. And it did. And it took off in a way that I didn't even understand at that point. And the officer at Lego in charge of safety contacted me because Lego had heard that I was doing this and were really interested and following what I was doing. He called me. He goes, "What are you doing?" And said, "This is the model. You have to have these spaces, these platforms in school." He actually brought me down to Washington, D.C. to take his place at a safety conference. He had me sit on the panel instead of Lego. And so I got to sit with Xbox people and Disney and the little teacher talking about why this is protective. And it's for those very reasons, Dave, you were talking about, that the kids are doing it, it gives them a safe place to practice. And for us, it was a thing that turned us around at the school because the parents want answers. And when we would have parent nights where we would tell them everything they needed to know, 2 or 3 people would show up. But now we're having these conversations with, do you know your kids are living online, and you wouldn't let your child go to another kid's house without knowing where that house was, who the adult was in charge, who they were playing with, and yet your kids are freely living online. The good news is that they're really pretty responsible, but you're going to have to step up to the plate as an adult. And we've had bring your parents to game days where they could play with the kids and see all the great 21st century skills that are embedded in the game, and then we can pull them out for the last half hour and talk about the grown-up stuff about where the kids are playing in line and how they can support their kids and help them by allowing the game and setting limits to the game and knowing where their kids are playing and giving them the pieces that they're missing. So this is protective, and if we can understand that and we can communicate that to our administrators and to our parents, that is going to transcend our obsession with testing, which is largely a way to make money on kids anyway, if we're going to be really honest. Yeah. Well, and we segue right back to the beginning of why should SIGVE have a server, and I think you're right, but I would actually bring in experts. I'd bring in kids to help us figure that all out.
And yeah, actually that's why we did that open house 2 weeks ago. And then this weekend, this Saturday, we're doing a very, a low-key open house also. We basically just toured, but I think that we need, and I know when I say more programmed, I mean that we get through the Betty Crocker stuff quickly enough that we can have you actually build and play with the kids. That's what I mean by having it more scheduled. We did an open house a week ago, and there was Knowclue and some other people from ISTE and from SIGVE, and we went in and let's see, Blue got lost. Trish kept dying.
We rescued him though.
Yes, we did. And so we spent about 2 hours with a bunch of people brand new to Minecraft, educators, and just getting them around, which was fun. And getting it, but like I said, I'd love to do, like you said, the Betty Crocker semi-homemade kind of thing, and then get them to play. Because this 2-hour one, it took us 2 hours just kind of to do like this tour. So I would like it not just to be a tour next time, but to have it also be more than that. So I think we can. I think Knowclue that maybe we schedule a full afternoon either in August or September.
In survival.
Oh, in survival? I don't know. I think that's up for discussion.
I just said that we opened up a totally new server today, and it was just a blast because we all just had to get through the night and talk about throwing a group of kids together to work together. It was really fun. How many times I got blown up? Just once this afternoon. That was pretty good.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, once it's like, yeah, and right now we have a SIGVE and Veg have a bit of a space on a server along with the Games MOOC and Inevitable Betrayal Guild and also the Redrickson Game MOOC. And we just did it. We just opened it up just to see what would happen, but the building went really, really fast. So yeah, I think SIGVE is going to have to. I think we're going to have to invest in a bit more of a server, but right now we do have a space that you can go and explore that we're sharing collaboratively. And yes, everyone is whitelisted and on a spreadsheet, so we know everybody who's going in.
You know what's interesting about the game is that it just stays fresh because it changes so much. I have never had I mean, we're over 2 years. And I'm ready for something else new. And then an update comes and we get horses. And then the kids are making horse race games and jousting. And so it does keep you young. Oh, yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, Miata, I'm sorry I haven't been following the chat, which often happens with me. You're trying to get your 4th graders in. Did you want to contribute? What you're doing, or that's great. Maybe you could get. I do too. We finally got our principal in our head to come in and play on a bring your parent to game day. It's very humbling the first time you sit down and try to navigate through a 3D space.
And yeah, and it's different than Second Life. I mean, I found myself continually apologizing to the 10 and 12-year-olds, saying, "I'm so sorry, I messed up your tile," and then I stole one of their horses by accident.
Oh man, they will school you. You know,
yes.
You know what's funny is because we are very flexible in the summer, they can go into Minecraft. They can do portals. They can do OpenSim, and I had some kids go into OpenSim, and they, how do I make a hole in the ground? And I was like, what? How do I make a hole in the ground? I can't break it. So the lines are blurring.
And yeah, and the thing about it is, I don't know, no clue. Maybe it's also that maybe with SIGVE we do once a month, like a Minecraft meetup for educators. Maybe that's something else that we consider. Because yeah, that's what we're. Sorry, my charge, as far as I'm concerned, is figuring out how to, that people can use virtual environments. And for me, I see Minecraft, and not just Minecraft, but a couple other things as a focus this year as being like the gateways, as we were talking about, to others. So, I mean, maybe it is the fact sheet, the white paper, a really, really great open house, and then maybe somewhat, what do they call them? Yeah, with AA meetings.
Intervention?
Or support meeting. Minecraft, educators in Minecraft support meeting.
Yeah. You know what, though? I have to say, and I made this prediction at ISTE, and I don't know. I kind of am feeling this in my gut, that Minecraft might be the little engine that's going to take down education. Because think about it, how we had MP3 downloads take down the music business until Apple figured out how to reinvent it. And we had the internet news take down news as we know it. I mean, they're still newspapers, but they're really becoming archaic. And now audiobooks, and so the technology has a way of crippling old technology that we're ready to surpass. And I just see kids learning being so dynamic in their off-school lives that they really have to power down and dumb down to come to school. And I'm wondering where that's creating a lot of tension. I'm wondering that that's not sustainable. And if it's not going to be Minecraft, I'm wondering if it's not going to be something similar.
I absolutely the powering down to come into school and having to move at a slower pace and it not being personalized and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe not flip the classroom. I mean, because I'm in online learning, I always got involved in virtual environments because I think that richer, deeper, more expansive than just text-based. But yeah, I can, and I hate to say text-based only textbooks versus playing a game. I can see sandbox genre taking down paper textbooks.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you with just a couple of last thoughts because I see we're coming up on the hour. But one is just a little announcement that we're starting our first ops after 2 years. We've got 4 kids who've decided that they wanted ops, and they've set up the program and they've made applications and resumes. It's crazy, but they're ready. It's a place for kids to grow in leadership in many aspects. I could speak hours and volumes to that piece of being in these worlds. But the observation I want to share today that would just happen today is we were working in class is it's really interesting that the kids love to teach. And if you start to tell them something they know, they're so quick to say, I know. So, I've learned to pretty much be quiet unless I'm asked. But I think that dynamic is interesting. But it's also flipped that they love to teach. And today I just had to shut up and let them tell me everything and teach me all of these things. And of course I knew, but they just, they were just exuberant. And really, isn't that when we really learn something is when we can teach it? And that's just such the natural culture of these sandbox games. People love to be experts. They love to share their work. They love to teach. And, that is the culture in the classes. Who's the expert? Who knows this thing? Stand up. Okay, they're your experts. If you've got a question, go to them. And the whole dynamic is just so much more interesting than me having to prepare a lesson.
And you're absolutely, and I mean, some of us here have talked about like assessment and the Fiero in assessment. I mean, and Lee Dale just, brought up about how the 10 and 12-year-old over on the server were just so absolutely proud, and every time we logged in, they showed us something. I mean, that's Fiero in assessment and mastery. That's totally, yeah. And Lee, and like you just typed it, they had a lot to be proud of. They absolutely did. And I mean, that's another thing when it comes back to looking at our assessments of mastery. How often, do the kids hand in one of the tests that we have them take, and they go, wow, I can't wait until you.
All right. It's just so much fun. I want SIGVE to have a place where you can come in and you can play with kids. Lee, Dale, wouldn't you agree, like being on Clash of Clans? When we started off as a group of teachers, the energy absolutely changed when the kids came in, and it's just being in that space and being a horizontal learner with them. Being the playing field is level, the learning field is level, and it's just a completely different dynamic, I should say.
Okay, guys, then I'll have this wrapped up. Are there any last comments or thoughts? Because if not, then, or I should say get them in before we end the broadcast. Well, thanks. and the thing of it is, I think thank you for coming, because I think we have some marching orders on some things that we can be doing, like this year, and not that we'll stop with just what we talked about today, but some ideas of where we can go in the next couple months.
Absolutely.
Okay, then I will end the broadcast. And Knowclue, Marianne, Malmstrom, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.